All right, everybody, you were just checking out the newest music video from Chris Garza, and now on your screen is the man himself. Chris, welcome to Knotfest Daily.
Thank you for having me. Honored to be here.
Thank you so much
Pretty
for
cool.
joining me. How are you doing over there?
Doing good. I woke up alive and breathing, so you can't really beat that. Got I got water here, so you can't ask for much more than that. Pretty pumped.
Well, we're really excited to have you on the show. We're, of course, just spinning your track and watching the video for Can't Get Out, which is awesome. So, would you
Yeah.
say that at this point you have mastered performing underwater now?
I went into that situation way too confidently, and there's a lot of. I was like, "Oh, I got it. Oh, you just jump in the pool and that's it." But it turns out that was actually extremely difficult. Like guitars are not meant to sink. They're like little surfboards. I
Yeah.
couldn't get the thing to fucking go down. So I don't know if you noticed, but all those shots are slow mo because you can only get like maybe 2 seconds of each dive because the guitar will go whoop,
Oh my gosh.
and
So how many times were
yeah,
you jumping in there trying to get these shots? Like I can
I
imagine you getting in and
forgot.
out of this pool a ridiculous amount.
I forgot probably 20 times.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
eh? It was
I
worth it.
it was worth it. I mean, I'm very lucky to have a pool. I'm like, well, it's free, so I have a pool. Might as well use it. you know.
Maybe next time you can just make sure it's something that sinks and then you're good to go. But it looked amazing in the end. It really did.
Thank you, and shout out to Nirvana for the inspiration. You know,
Of course.
when you see a pool scene, you're like, oh, that's Nirvana. So it's so cool. So I'm just borrowing that whole vibe. You know,
Paying some homage,
of course,
definitely. But
of
like
course.
many during this pandemic, you found a new vice being your recently created and launched podcast, the Garza podcast. And this song is actually the podcast theme. So, what made you want to just dive into that fun world and intriguing world of podcasting?
It was something that's been on the back of my mind for I think since 2014. It's just kind of been there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been there, but unfortunately, it was right when Eddie first joined Suicide Silence, and we were going to. I'm gonna make like a life story in 10 seconds, but we so the whole
Take
band
20.
so so the whole band was going to grieving therapy sessions because we just lost Mitch and we just got
Right.
Eddie. So the people don't know that, but we were literally in therapy sessions. So as a, me being curious, I started doing solo sessions with our therapist, and turns out some of his patients were fans of the band. So
Wow.
I went from patient to a therapist. So he would invite me over, and I would talk to some of his patients that were fans and having like a really tough time.
Wow.
And some actually would end up coming to shows, and I was like, wow, like I I really enjoyed asking them questions, listening, because I mean I'm a extreme introvert. So I love listening to people. I love asking questions and just hearing about. So I was like, wow, I want to do this. This is cool. And then I was also getting into podcasting around the same time, but I just didn't have like the emotional, mental, spiritual capacity to take such a extreme project because we're just trying to get on our feet with the band. And luckily, fast forward, now there is some time. Like, oh, you know what? Fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
Right
go.
on.
Yeah.
That's absolutely incredible because being a musician, of course, your music is going to touch people and you can impact their lives that way. But the fact you literally went from being in a therapy session to actually, in some way, becoming these fans, therapists on and off, like that is the most bizarre, incredible thing I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, it was definitely bizarre, but also really, really cool. It was like, just and then they would end up coming out to shows and seeing how they would evolve and improve. I was like, wow, this is pretty nuts.
Amazing.
It's cool.
Well, you've definitely had some cool guests on the show already. Everybody from producer Ross Robinson, legendary guitarist Dino from Fear Factory, Meeks from Cold Chamber. I know that you're friends with Ross, as you've mentioned, how if there was no Fear Factory, there'd be no Suicide Silence. So,
Hmm.
how surreal has it been for you not only to speak with these people, but actually befriend them over time?
It's still very surreal. Uh, I've been talking to friends about it. Like, there's another word for surreal, especially, which is why I like doing it in person. That's kind of been my thing. It kind of separates me from the rest of the podcast in person on YouTube.
Especially now.
It's
Yeah.
especially now. So I've been kind of really into that, and it's been such, I don't know, lucky that I could just text these people that I met over the years, and knowing Ross, and he's now my friend, and Dino. I'm like, wait, I have their numbers. Holy shit! I
Yeah.
could just text them, hey, you want to come down, like a quick little, hey, you want to come down and be in a podcast, and having guys like that say yes, and then I'm not sure if you're aware where I live, but I live an hour south of LA,
Okay.
and which is constant traffic. So if you're
Oh
coming
yeah.
from LA to the studio, which I mean, this is the studio, you're looking at like a 2 hour drive easily.
So that's
So
commitment on their end too. Like they love you back to make that trek.
I know it's, and they'll like be here, and I got to get over my personal nerves. It's like, oh my god, they actually drove down, and my heroes are in like my garage. It's
Yeah.
just like, it's crazy. Ross Robinson, he drove over 2.5 hours from Ojai just to do the podcast. Came down, we had a great conversation uh, be- between friends of me being a fan, and like the whole thing. And then he just left. I'm like,
That
wow,
just
he came
happened.
down. That just happened. And the whole
Yes.
thing was like a blur, because I mean, I love I love and hate the headphones, but something happens when you have the headphones on. I can't explain it. I don't know what it is. I hate it, but something on a deeper level happens when you're sitting so close to each other with the headphones on. Like the conversation just, like the
It hits you
you're just
differently.
in there. It just hits. So I
Hmm.
just kind of kept them, and having these conversations, being so in tune with my heroes. It's just, I mean, it's something else. I can't put words to it yet, but it's still happening. You know.
No, I've been in that position before where you'll be asking a question and just watching them answer. And of course, as an interviewer, one of the main things is having to listen, those listening skills. But I've
Um,
totally drifted off just looking at someone being like, holy shnikes, like that person is right there. This is a dream come true. So it's amazing
yeah.
that you're feeling that as you're doing it and you just have that passion for it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the word. It's a passion, love. I have a very obsessive look into details. So when I knew it, like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it, and
You're
I'm
going to
going
do it right.
to just, it has to. I put in the time, the hours, weeks that turn into months, and all right, did it, and got into, I know nothing about, being, I guess I could say now, a host. Nothing about cameras, uh, microphones, and lighting. I knew zero going into this. I just dove into it. I'm like,
Yeah.
and finding like a new passion, and like, wow, I actually enjoy doing this, and to be able to offer like, it's like, what do, it's goes. This goes back 20 years when Suicide Silence formed. It goes back to, what do I like? What do I want to do? What do I want to see? What do I want to hear? Because most likely, like, that doesn't exist. And sure enough, but what I wanted to see and hear, it didn't exist. I went on YouTube and see what I want to see. It's not out there. So I
Yeah.
was like, all right, I'll just do what's in my head,
It's
and then
amazing.
and uh give my idols a platform, which has been a trip to even do.
Say, yeah. It's amazing.
I want this to, get bigger, so I could give, bands around here like a professional platform. I want to give everyone a platform. And each guest has like their own thing, their own like golden nugget, as I call them. Like they'll like say something that it just stays with you.
That's the
And
term I use. I've said that
yeah,
so
it's,
many times. The golden nugget of the interview, and you walk away thinking, "Oh my gosh, I just learned that about that person thanks to
yeah,
them being on my show."
absolutely. And I'm just, I'm 35, and I've accepted that I'm a fucking idiot. That's just it. There's so much I don't know about music, life, uh, guitar playing. Uh, to be able to kind of accelerate uh, my process of learning has been something I didn't expect. And each guest, I'm like, wow. I have something I didn't know.
Yeah.
And each week it's just like I'm just getting hit with these like just pure life experiences, like real life experiences that people that my friends are sharing with me, my idols are sharing with me, guitar players that I respect are sharing with me. I'm like, wow. And not only am I getting this, but you forget like, oh yeah, there's mics here. Oh, there's fucking cameras here.
Yeah.
Like there's
Totally.
like you like forget. Oh, what? Not only am I learning, but I'm gonna post this on like YouTube and Spotify, the whole nine, and other people could learn with me. It's like we're all kind of just learning, enjoying, and hopefully spreading some good vibes out there.
Right. Nah, it's such a wonderful thing, and to hear that you're enjoying it that much, like that's just it's great because I feel like a lot of people and hosts they don't get enough credit and people don't know what really goes into it. So it's really cool hearing from you starting from scratch,
Mm,
just seeing what you've been able to build with it. But the last thing I wanted
yeah,
to ask you about today, it's the fact that I know that you absolutely love the band Corn, you love
yes,
coffee, and you love pizza.
I
But if you
do.
could only keep one of those three things, which would it be?
You did it. You did your research.
I try.
um, wow. I learned this recently about myself last week because I cut back on meat.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, but I'm still ordering pizza. And I was like, oh, but I learned, like, oh, I could cut back on pizza and it's all good. I think, wait, corn or right, corn was in there.
Yep, corn coffee pizza.
Oh, I will get the corn coffee. Shout out to corn having their own coffee, but I think I can't live without
That's
coffee.
smart. You found a loophole in my question. I
I
don't know
found
if
a
I'm
loophole.
happy about that, but I'll
I'm
give
gonna
it
get
to you.
I'm gonna get corn coffee. There you go.
That's
That's it.
amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I really want to say thank you so, so much, Chris, for hopping on to Not Daily today, for shooting the breeze. This is an absolute delight, and just congratulations on everything you've been kicking ass with lately.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me, and thank you everyone that's been watching the podcast, listening. Truly appreciate it. It's been crazy seeing the subscribers go from zero to they just keep going up. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. That's so crazy. So again, thank you for having me, and hopefully you keep watching, listening, and learning and enjoying.
Absolutely. Everybody, again, this has been the absolutely awesome Chris Garza of Suicide Silence. Don't forget to check out his new single, Can't Get Out, along with his show, The Garza Podcast. All of these deets and plenty more can be found over at notfest.com. And again, Chris, thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Later, everybody.